On this month's Coaster Conversations, we have Lawrence Mancey, the Marketing and Technology Director at Paultons Park. Many thanks for joining me today, Lawrence.
No worries, happy to be here.
Fantastic. Now, for those who don't know, would you kindly explain what a day in your shoes looks like and the day-to-day operations of Paultons Park?
Well, I have quite a varied role. So lucky in that way. But I head up the marketing team. So that's looking after our sort of marketing strategy all the way from our sort of outdoor radio advertising and then digital advertising with Google and social media and yeah, you name it. Obviously, I have a great team headed up by Rob, our head of marketing. But yeah, so that's sort of touch base on that. See how our campaigns are going, and then on the other side of things is the technology side of it. So I look after all of our, along with marketing as well, the website and our ticketing systems. But yeah, everything from CCTV to digital signage and EPOS tills. Again, got a good team behind me as well, looking after that. So touching base with them, and yeah, any ongoing issues, sort of what's going on, and yeah, just making sure the park's running smoothly, really. And then yeah, quite regular in meetings about various things to do with new projects, and yeah, all the exciting stuff.
I like how you mentioned Google there. I mean, recently, have you had any trouble with them recently? Because we've been slapped with a helpful content update. That's the most unhelpful thing that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, we're always looking at. We have an SEO agency, of course, who are helping us with any algorithm changes and all the stuff that they get up to. But they're sort of a power unto themselves, Google. So we just have to follow what they're doing a little bit.
Yeah, it's an absolute minefield. But stepping away from my hate of Google, because we could go on for an entire 30 minutes about that. But
Yeah.
Paulton's Park, every time I've gone to the park, presentation is always above and beyond. And that goes from its early days as a gardens with Penny the donkey walking around, all the way to the park that we see today. It's just immaculate. Now, how difficult is it to maintain such a well-landscaped park that always feels like a Britain in bloom contender?
Yeah, I mean it's what makes Paulton special, isn't it? Really, I mean the gardens, being in the New Forest, is something that's unique to us, and we've always got our eye on that when we're doing new projects. But day to day, we have a team of 10, 11 gardeners, and then another team of grounds people who look after the park, and that's their role. And not many parks will have such a large team of people who their sole responsibility is to make sure the park is looking good. They're doing the watering in the morning. They're planning out the new beds. They're tending to the gardens. Weeding, deadheading, all the stuff has to go on to make sure the park is looking good. Regularly cutting the grass, and everything is gone over with a fine tooth comb. And yeah, it takes time. You've got to invest in the people to make sure that happens. But it's all about having the right people and giving them the tools to be able to do the job. And I think that reflects in how the park looks every day.
Do you feel as though that's the ethos across the entire park? 'Cause it's an independent park. It has a much lower budget than I imagine some of the bigger players out there. How do you manage to completely overshadow your competition from landscaping to ride presentation to theming? What is it that makes Paultons want to go the extra mile constantly?
A lot of it's in the planning. We start projects, 4 or 5 years before they're due to of open. Spend a lot of time with the team, planning out the best ways to do things. Yeah, I mean we're not as big as the other parks, but we'll spend money where we need to, and I think you can't put a value on how much money you can't really put a return on investment on how the gardens look or how clean and tidy the park is. But I think if people feel like they've had a good day, they feel like they're in a nice environment, if they're comfortable, people will spend money on the park, and they'll come back for another day. So I think there is a value to it, but it's obviously quite hard to quantify.
Yeah, I mean, with Paulton's being a family-run business, is it a family that gets along and everyone's on the same page regarding decisions, or is there that
Well,
usual family disagreement dynamic that get interferes now and again?
if we all agreed on everything, then there'd be no point having us all here. So no, we absolutely don't agree on everything, but we've always all got the best interest of the park, and the people here, at the forefront of our minds. So yeah, while we don't agree on everything, we are able to talk about things, and if we have a disagreement, we're all quite pragmatic, and yeah, we can definitely come to a decision quite quickly. And normally we'll all tend to agree on most things anyway. So we're not having daily arguments about things. It's pretty rare that we'll actually have a toe to toe about anything. But if we do, then it's quickly dealt with, and the right decision is made for the park at the end of the day, and we're all pretty comfortable with that.
Fantastic. Now, what I always found fascinating about Paultons, it's not that it's just a family-run business, but you're a very keen enthusiast yourself. I mean, does that make Paulton stand out from the rest because it's run by people who genuinely care for the industry rather than it just being a business and run as a business? There's more of a passion behind it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we're very proud of the park, and we aspire to be the best in everything we do. We aspire to be the best in the UK, and to do that, we have to look at what the best theme parks in the world are doing. So we do a lot of traveling. We're very lucky to travel to lots of theme parks around the world, and we're very lucky to be able to call that market research instead of a holiday, which is quite nice.
Business
Um,
expense tick. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're very lucky. But we think that the best parks in the world are probably in Europe, definitely, and of course in the US. But we we do a lot of traveling and trying to separate the enthusiast in me from the running the business can be tough sometimes. I can go on a ride and think, God, I'd love to have that at the park, but you've got to take a step back and think, while I am an enthusiast, what's right for the park, what's right for our audience, what are the UK public going to visit for? Because there's no point doing something if it's at the end of the day not going to make the park more successful and bring more guests to the park. So we're always having that balance between putting in the 75-meter tall coaster, or putting in a family friendly one, which actually the guests will enjoy more. So yeah, the enthusiast in me would love to put in some more extreme coasters, but we've got to do what's right for the park.
Yeah. I mean, just diving into that in a nerd a second there, is there kind of like a handful of coasters that you'd like to reel off as some of your all-time greats?
Well, I was recently in Energylandia in Poland. I've got my Energylandia mug here with a cup of tea in it.
And so, do you want
Uh,
me to CGI Paulton's logo over that in
yeah,
Poland?
that'd be great. Thanks. Um, yeah, but I loved Zadra. I think that's my new favorite coaster. Which is fantastic, just relentlessly fast in all the elements, even into the brake run. I was amazed by it. So that was a fantastic ride, and obviously I'd love to see one in the UK, but it's unlikely it's going to be at Paultons, I'm afraid. So everyone can calm down. I'm sure that will be clipped and replayed
No,
at some.
it won't be clipped. Funnily enough, it was something that I wanted to dive into in a later date because you posted a picture on social media of an Intamin water coaster with a little RMC above it, and it sent the community into rapture. So that was something that I did want to discuss, and just to try and put the rumors and the speculation and the chaos to bed. But I think you've just done that already for me.
Yeah, we won't be having an RMC at Paultons. There's definitely not one in the planning at the moment. That's for sure.
It makes me curious as to why you put an Intamin water coaster in there, because other than the Evershon log flume, that's not too well themed at the moment. It would be a nice replacement.
I was just having a bit of a laugh with you all, I'm afraid. I did
Brilliant.
enjoy reading the comments, but yeah, there was nothing behind it. The that Intamin water coaster on that planning document, wasn't anything that we put in there. That was just the planners uh, Google image searching roller
Yeah.
coaster, I imagine, and putting whatever they found on the front of the document. So, yeah, sorry to disappoint everyone there. But keep on looking out. We might drop some teasers in the future, so you never know.
Fantastic. And just going back to that inner enthusiast, taking park bias out of the equation here, what park around the world would you want Paultons to aspire to be like, or do you want it to just stand out on its own without comparison?
I think there's elements of lots of parks that I think that Paultons can be like, the fantastic theming that you see in the Disney parks, the great operations that you see in the Universal parks and similar to the theming, but then also the landscaping and the beauty that you see in some of the European parks. I think there's a mixture of stuff that we can bring together to try and make us, the top park in the UK. So we're always looking at different things, and that's what I love about visiting other parks. You always take something away. You always go to a park and think, yeah, that's a great idea. Why aren't we doing that? And it's great for benchmarking as well. When you go out there and say, yeah, we're doing that. we're doing that pretty well actually.
I couldn't agree with you more. And just going back to the kind of ethos of the park as well, and getting the fans involved as much as possible. The recent fan event that you guys did has been, for me, a resounding success. I'm not sure how you guys saw it on your side, but I'm sure you agree. How important is it for you to have this connection with fans as passionate as yourselves regarding not just Paultons, but theme parks in general?
Oh, hugely. I mean, we all loved that event. It was fantastic. It was a bit daunting having 200, 250 odd enthusiasts coming to the park. We were sort of opening ourselves up to some criticism, but the response has been fantastic, and we really enjoyed doing it. It was great to meet everyone, and it wasn't just about inviting people with hundreds of thousands of subscribers or followers. It was about inviting people on the forums, people that, enjoy visiting theme park. You might not have that massive following, but you have every right to be involved in these events as anyone else. And that's what we wanted to do. So yeah, we really enjoyed the event, and connecting with you all is super important. Because like I said in my talk, it's a massive part of your life. It's a massive part of our lives. So yeah, it's just enjoyable to bring like-minded people together, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I left you alone that day. I know what days like that can be like when everyone's coming up and asking you a million and one questions. I remember coming off Splash Lagoon and I saw you and I was just like, just said a comment from across the way. I was just, I'm going to leave you completely be to at least have one less enthusiast to worry about. But why did you feel as though now is the best time to involve theme park fans in an event like this? Because obviously Paultons has been going a longer while. You've been in your role quite a long time also. It
Mhm.
was free of charge. It was better than some of the paid events from other bigger parks this year by a long country mile. It almost feels like you're building up to something very big that just hasn't been seen at Paultons before.
Almost. I mean, you've all seen the teaser we released, and we're very excited to release more on that, maybe at the next event that we hold. But yeah, I mean, the park is going through a period of investment, and we want to, bring you guys along in that journey, and along with the process that we go through. And yeah, it was a good opportunity as we start that journey to show you what Paultons is at the moment, but then what it's going to be like in the next 3 or 4 years.
Fantastic. And regarding Splash Lagoon, I just wanted a little quick chat about that because this was a ride designed for small children that somehow looks as though it was taken out of Universal Studios and was packed full of adults on opening day. And it was somehow just plopped into Southampton and made everybody happy. I mean, where
Yeah.
did the idea come about for the project and what was the whole process like from concept to opening?
So the ride that was there previously was an old magic carpet ride, Temple Heights. It wasn't very well used. It was one of the lowest sort of usage rides in the park, so it was a good spot as well. We had a lot of space there. That ride was rethemed when we opened Lost Kingdom, and it came from another part of the park. So it was a pretty basic flat ride. It wasn't very exciting. So it wasn't being ridden by that many people. So it was a good opportunity to give Lost Kingdom a bit of a relaunch, almost with a new ride. We know water rides are obviously very popular. It's always during the summer, our water rides are very well used. So, adding some capacity to that side of the park as well. So, yeah, it was an obvious choice to put in a mini flume. We liked that model from ABC. We'd seen it a couple of times at other parks. I know there's one at Chessington as well. So it was a good choice. It was easy as well to put that ride in and theme around it. We had a lot of opportunity, obviously, for theming, being it with it in dinosaurs and very Jurassic Park-esque as well, as Lost Kingdom tends to be. So the guys did a great job with the planting, and all of that area was designed by our in-house team as well. So we didn't have any external creative agency or anything in there. We took the theme and our project team did the color scheme and obviously with some external contractors as well. But yeah, it was a great project. All the dinosaurs were bought essentially out of a catalog and they arrived and had to be assembled. So watching a Brachiosaurus being assembled in the yard was quite good fun.
Like a dinosaur graveyard until it all comes together, sort of
It, it almost is. We do have an area in the yard where we have dinosaurs that are awaiting repair and the dinosaur hospital. The engineers enjoy looking after the dinosaurs. Yeah, Splash Lagoon is a fantastic ride, and it's the landscaping, it's the planting that makes that ride so fantastic. And when you exit the station, you're immediately surrounded by tall plants, and we always try. They're more expensive, but we try and purchase more mature plants so that you're not, just putting in little shrubs, and so they have a chance to also they grow up, but they're already a statement piece when they go in. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're really happy with Splash Lagoon. It's been very popular, and yeah, it's been a fantastic addition to the park.
I really do think if you guys did an Alan Titchmarsh guide to planting and sent it out to other parks that just put, little seeds in and just wait for them to grow over a 2-year period, I think you'd make a lot of money with the gardening consultation services.
It's a massive part of the theming, isn't it? You need to have that greenery in there to make it feel authentic,
Yeah.
and not just like, right, it's been plopped down, and left, and it'll grow up. We don't want to have to wait 2 or 3 years for the plants to mature. We want that ride to stand on its own 2 feet, when we open it.
And that's what sets you apart, because I imagine buying the plants as is much more expensive than just starting from scratch and waiting for them to grow.
Yeah, they take a lot more maintaining as well. You've got to make sure that they're putting the right kind of, the right type of soil, the right depth, and they're watered enough. And we've got full irrigation systems in there as well, so that they're watered, regularly. Yeah, it's quite a task, and a lot goes into it. A lot of planning from the team, a lot of sourcing of props. The project team went down to I think a local scrapyard or dockyard or something, and we're picking up bits of scrap. Can we reuse this? Where can we put this? And the old plane, of course, that was in Dino Torco was reused, and we had to crack that in half to make it fit. But that sort of worked in there as well. And we redid the audio on Dino Torco to mention Splash Lagoon and to talk about it as they're going around. So that it was all brought together as one, company. You can go visit the dinosaur tour company, and you do a Jeep safari or a boat ride, and yeah, it really brings that whole area together. And from
It's
a commercial point of view, it's been good for the base camp, the F&B down there. That's brought a few more footfall to that area, and we've seen a bit more spend down there as well. So yeah, it's been a good project.
obviously without spoiling too much, of course. I imagine the heat map around that particular area of the park is only going to grow over time.
Yeah, yeah, we are, lots of meetings, lots of planning going on about that area of the park. I won't be too specific, but
No,
yeah,
of course not.
somewhere around there'll be something
Complete.
happening.
I did promise you that we'd keep it as surface level as humanly possible. So I'm gonna do that with this next question. And just to say that with immersive spaces and captivating lands, which seems to be pride and parcel of what Paultons Park is all about. I mean, I think everyone is safe to say we're very excited about your first ever dark ride in Ghostly Manor opening next May. With this kind of bigger, better mentality that Paulton seems to have, we're surely looking at the UK's best dark ride, are we not?
Well, our mantra is to be the best in everything we do. So that's what we're hoping to achieve. We're hoping to achieve a world-class, dark ride experience, a unique experience for the UK. And there's been a lot of work ongoing. So anyone that's followed me on Twitter will have seen that we've started scaffolding the old show street, and that's started to come down. We've dug up the road in front of the old 40 Cinema building, where obviously the ride is going, and lots of work has been done on the layout of the garden already. We've spray painted on the floor where the queue line will go, and where the entrance portal will be, and that kind of stuff, so that we can get started on that in the better weather during the summer. So we're not having to do all of that work over the winter. And there's a lot of work to be done inside the building. As you can imagine, with the dark ride, it's quite technically complicated. A lot of moving parts, a lot of things to go wrong. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we're trying to get the outside of the building as far ahead as possible and start as early as we can to give us as much time with the ride in place to thoroughly test it and make sure we have no issues when it opens.
Am I right in saying that this will be the first ride system of its kind from the manufacturer we may or may not be able to mention in this particular chat?
We may or may not. That may or may not be correct.
Yeah, I'll take it. I won't
Yeah.
mention any more about that. It's just a
But yeah,
little
it
chat.
would be very unique.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, I won't say any more about that. Why did you feel as though now was the necessary time for Paultons to get its first indoor dark ride?
Um, the opportunity was there. I mean, we had a space. The 40 Cinema was our least used ride in the park. Um, that was maybe because of its position, because of the content we were playing in there perhaps wasn't as attractive to the audience that we have in the park. We were struggling to find good content for the cinemas. We were trying to change the film every year, and trying to find a new film every year for that cinema when you have quite a small selection was quite difficult. So we knew we needed something that could be there, all year round, and we wouldn't have to update the content. It needed to be re-rideable. So decided to, remove the cinema, and then we had that space there where we thought, perfect, this was a great opportunity to put a dark ride in, but we needed to find a ride system that would fit in that building. So that's what we did, and spoke to the manufacturer, and yeah, made it all work. And it's been in the planning for a couple of years, so it's exciting to have seen it break ground.
Absolutely. Now, after when you showed us the concepts, there was gasps. I mean, everyone looked at it and goes, "It's basically it looks like Phantom Manor in the UK with a unique system. Like we're living for it." The pictures that came up, it's clear to see it's a shooting dark ride, and for the most part, shooting dark rides in the UK have been quite cheesy and quite underwhelming. How difficult will be as a park to not only make the experience fun, but fully immerse guests without detaching people from, I've got a gun in my hand. It usually detaches people from the experience. What's going to be that kind of task or obstacle that you've had to overcome in that department?
I think if people follow the backstory that we'll start posting out, at the end of the year, and as they, approach the opening of the ride, and as they go into the ride, they're going to really have been immersed in the world of Dr. Kinley and his backstory. We're doing a lot of work on the pre-show as well. So as soon as you walk through those doors into Ghostly Manor, you're going to feel, like you're in there. We've got some really cool elements going to be going in there, and then when you go on the ride, it's important that it was really important to us that it wasn't just a room full of screens,
Yeah.
and that you weren't it wasn't just about shooting the targets. We wanted to make sure that there was a logical element as you move through Ghostly Manor, and each scene is unique but tied together in the very same style. This has been put together by the same people that did Tornado Springs for us, and we work quite closely with them. So they've developed the story for this as well, along with our input. So it's all going to be very cohesive. And even as you step out of the exit, you'll still be in the world of Dr. Kinley until you walk out the main gates. So with the music and everything, I think it's going to be very immersive. And it's not a big area. We're not creating a whole new land, but we wanted to make sure that it didn't stick out. And we've set the bar now with Tornado Springs for our theming, and we need to try and keep on raising that. So inside the ride, there'll be a mixture of screens and physical sets, and then externally, as you've seen from the designs, it's going to be a whole manor building. So I'd like to think it's going to be quite immersive, and with the planting and everything, and it's quite an enclosed space as well. So I think that's going to really help.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I mean, as soon as we saw the plans and everyone was walking away, I said, there's a pre-show in there. We were looking at the building, having a little scope out. And that's the thing, you guys went above the extra mile again and just had sound effects playing from an empty warehouse with scaffolding around.
Yes.
It's like nobody would even think about doing that. It's just these extra things that people were like, no one
Yeah.
else does this because you just don't.
We,
Um,
we wanted to have some smoke coming out with some green lights, but we couldn't get it organized in time, unfortunately. But that would have been really cool.
yeah, that would have been really, especially as it was just going.
So we went for the toned down version with just the music.
That's fair enough. It's definitely better than most. But it wasn't just Ghostly Manor that was shown as a trailer for the upcoming 2026 Vikings project. Certainly added more fuel to the fire with a wood, steel, and inverting Paultons Park logo. Whilst I'm trying to keep this as surface level as I possibly can, I'll just ask, one, is Paultons Park going in a more thrill-centric direction? And two, why did you decide on Vikings, whether that's an individual ride or a whole new land that's coming to Paultons Park?
We want if you look at other parks in Europe, they have a mixture of family and thrill rides.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything I've said about picking out the best bits from the park in Europe, it's no secret that that's what we're aspiring to be like, and it's important to have something for the whole family, whether that's your teenagers or your 5, 6 year olds. So it's all part of making sure the park is a destination that the whole family can visit and enjoy together. So hopefully that sort of answers your first question. For Vikings, I can't say too much, but we've been planning this for a long time, like I said, and we like that theme. It lends itself to the theming, but as always, it won't just be a Viking area. It will have its own special Paultons twist on it, its own special story behind it. A bit like Tornado Springs did, where we could have done a Western area. It's very similar to a Western area, but decided no, that's sort of been done before. So we wanted to put our own little story behind it, have our own twist. Went for the 1950s sort of Tornado Alley kind of vibe. So we're going to do a similar kind of thing to the Vikings theme and make it slightly different to what's out there at the moment.
I do like how Tornado Springs has that Americana vibe. So obviously you just said about Western, and people do lean very heavily into Western, like a certain park in Tamworth that we won't mention. But in terms of developing new areas and getting new rides in, how often these plans pivot? Was Vikings always on the table? Did you go through about 10 other iterations, or is it kind of set in stone from the beginning?
I think they definitely pivot, but we have a master plan. You know, we do a lot of that. We do a lot of making sure that things we're putting in aren't going to impact things we want to do in the next sort of 10, 15 years to make sure that it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You can't do one bit without the other. So we like to make sure things all work together. But yeah, they do change. They have changed. They had their plans we've got now are not the plans we had in the last 3 years. So they do definitely change. But the theme itself, we've always wanted to do something like that, and it was the obvious choice. But like I say, it won't just be Vikings. The other good thing about the themes we choose is that they're very easy to theme. And the important thing as well from a business point of view is these projects are very expensive. So it's important that the theming we do is as cost effective as possible, which is why we use quite a lot of timber. We use quite a lot of planting, because in the grand scheme of things, while we can make that look really, really good, but it's not the most expensive theming in the world. If you look at Lost Kingdom, there's a lot of rock work in Lost Kingdom, and that is quite an expensive theming element to put in. So it's a lesson we learn to use, cheap theming. I say cheap, cost-effective cheap theming where you can, but use those rock work elements in a more central position, a bit like what we've done in the middle of Storm Chaser, where we have those large sort of termite mounds in the middle of Storm Chaser. That's all rock work, but we wouldn't want to do that across the whole area again because it does drive the costs up quite a lot. Which means we can spend more on F&B, more on the flooring in the area, the planting, and then just raise the quality up. So it's choosing where you spend the money with these kind of projects is quite important.
Yeah, very important indeed. And as you're sitting there knowing what you know about the future of Paultons Park, what kind of words would you use to tease or describe the future that we can all look forward to seeing?
Um, I mean, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be different, um, but it's going to shock people as well, I think.
Is that, I know, I'm trying to word it. So be very careful now. Is that going to shock people in terms of leaning into more things that Paultons hasn't got currently, should I say?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
I'd say so. I'd say so.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted
Yeah.
to know.
And I
Without,
think I think the no, I haven't seen anyone guess the right ride yet. So
okay, cool. We'll have a chat after this interview finishes. All
yeah,
right, then, Lawrence, I just want to say thank you very much for chatting to me on Coaster Conversations. I can't wait for Ghostly Man. I genuinely do think it's going to be the UK's best dark ride the second it opens. And I have been telling everyone that. I'm not just telling you for the purpose of this chat to keep you sweet, but I just want to wish you all the best for the future of the park, the exciting developments, and thanks for spending time chatting with me today.
no worries at all. Thanks, Sean.